Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I just got back from holidays, and while I was away, Mark Carney steps in as Prime Minister ahead of a federal election, and the Bank of Canada continues to cut rates. A lot of people assume that with lower rates equals higher home prices, but here's the truth. This isn't a normal economic environment. So should you buy now or should you wait? Will Ottawa home prices go up or will they go down? Let's try to break it all down. Let's go. All right, welcome back. Many people think that when a new prime minister or party takes power, the housing market reacts immediately. Either the prices will skyrocket or home values will crash overnight. But if we look at history, that's not the case. In 1984, Trudeau Sr., when we moved from Trudeau to Mulroney, mortgage rates at that time were hovering about 13% in 1984, keeping home prices flat for years. The lesson there was that the high borrowing costs outweighed any impact of government change. And in 1993, when we moved from the Mulroney to the Chrétien era, Canada was in a recession and home prices dropped nearly 10% from 1990 to 1996. But when rates fell from 14% down to 4% by 1996, prices surged by 30% by the year 2000. The lesson again, it wasn't the government, it was the economy and the interest rates that mattered. And in 2008, under a Harper government, the home prices dropped by 9% in 1 year alone, despite a conservative government. The government had to step in with emergency rate cuts and spending to stabilize the market. The lesson, yet again, is that the global economic shocks hit harder than the political changes. And in 2015, when we moved from the Harper to Trudeau government, the Bank of Canada slashed rates to 0.5%, making borrowing super cheap. Home prices jumped 30% in 2 years alone. But in 2018, the mortgage stress test cooled the market. The lesson yet again, lower rates fueled the boom, but the government regulations slowed it down. And of course, in 2020, we had the COVID housing frenzy. The Bank of Canada cut rates to near zero and prices jumped nearly 50% in a lot of markets. But now that the rates have risen to over 5% or roughly 5%, home sales are down 20 to 30% from their peak. The second item I wanted to talk about was that the Bank of Canada cut its overnight rate by 0.25%. And many economists predict more rate cuts over the next year or so, possibly bringing rates down to the 3% range later in the year. So what does this mean for mortgage rates? Well, fixed mortgage rates are already starting to drop, and variable mortgage rates will continue to get cheaper over time if more cuts happen. But here's the problem. Lower rates don't always mean higher home prices. That's why, in my opinion, I don't think these Bank of Canada rate cuts are going to cause a housing boom. Mortgage rates are lower, but they're still not cheap. In early 2022, 5-year fixed rates were 1.5%. Today, they're still above 4%. And buyers who are expecting rock bottom prices again, well, they're just not going to happen. And rate cuts work best in a strong economy. We all know that. This is not a strong economy. The GDP growth rate is just 0.4% in Q1 of 2024, which is far from booming. Consumer spending is down 2.7% year over year, and inflation, of course, is always a concern, so the Bank of Canada won't cut aggressively. People are more concerned about job security than they are interest rates. Unemployment is hovering about 6.6%, and the public sector hiring is slowing, and the private sector has seen layoffs in both tech and in manufacturing. If people fear losing their jobs, they won't take a big mortgage, no matter how low interest rates are. All right, and finally, the third bullet I want to talk about is that the market is definitely shifting from a fear of missing out to the fear of overpaying. Back in 2021, the real estate market was insane because of the fear of missing out. Buyers saw prices rising 5 and 10% per month and overbidding on homes just to win those homes. And interest rates were at record lows of about 1.5% to 2%, making borrowing super cheap. Now, the exact opposite is happening. The fear of overpaying. Buyers are waiting, worried that prices will continue to drop. More listings are hitting the market, and in some regions, the highest inventory levels in the last 20 years. Certain property types, like condos, are already seeing price declines. All right, so if you're a buyer, You're looking at the listings, and the listing inventory is up 20 to 30% year over year, while the prices are dropping 5 to 10% in some areas. The days on markets are increasing. So if you're a buyer, you're expecting the prices to drop, you're just not going to jump into the market. That's basic economics. All right, so what's next for the Ottawa housing market? In the short term, in my opinion, buyers will likely stay hesitant and the market will remain cooled but not crashing. Sellers, on the other hand, need to price competitively to attract offers. In the midterm, if rates continue dropping and job security improves, demand could increase in late 2025. And of course, in the long term, Ottawa's fundamentals remain strong, but this isn't a get-rich-quick real estate market. All right, some final thoughts or final advice from me to you. If you are a buyer and if you have a stable job, you can take advantage of lower rates or the coming lower rates, but patience might get you a better deal in the coming months. And of course, if you're a seller, I think you got to price your home realistically. Buyers aren't rushing into the market just because of a 0.25% rate cut. If you can wait, watch how the rate cuts and the economic conditions evolve. All of this is fluid. There's a lot going on. We have tariff issues, we've got political issues, we've got housing market issues. Oh, there's a lot going on in 2025. So let's sit down, let's have a conversation, let's establish your short and your midterm goals. Let's price compare, do some comparables on the type of home that you have, in the neighborhood that you have, or if you're on the buyer side, let's really try to determine what your goals are and let's go look at some homes that fit your criteria specifically. There's no rush. This isn't a FOMO type of market. Let's take our time and let's really try to establish our goals together as a team. So reach out to me if this is of interest to you. My contact details are below. Reach out to me, like I said, let's have a cup of coffee and let's start this process together. And aside from all of that, if you've made it this far in the video, I personally just want to go to the home show this weekend. I want to get my mind off all the other political tariffs, elections, interest rates. I want to go to the home show this weekend. If you're planning to attend, leave a comment. I have extra tickets. I'm going to randomly pick people that have left comments in the comment section below. I'll give you a couple of tickets and off we go, and I'll see you at the home show. Again, my name is Mark Belanger. I hope this video was valuable. I enjoy putting them together. And until the next video, take care. I'll see you at the home show.